The moment I turned around, I said, "This is a no-pitch room." There was a whole clique of people that formed in the room.
Yeah, mentality shifted.
Yeah, the whole mentality shifted because they couldn't see the value there.
People feel the energy.
Yeah, and then I said no selling, and then all I was receiving in my messages is screenshots of people trying to sink the show.
Okay, welcome to the Global Woman Show. And you know what? I thought I'd do something different. I wanted to come and visit you guys here, where you are, where the whole world is watching you every single day, is listening to you every single day, inspired by you every single day. And probably you don't know what is the impact that you are creating yet. And I was really curious. I've been following you for days and months now, like many others around the world. And I thought, I want to come and see this myself. And I experienced it today. And I'm really impressed. And I'm very grateful that you found the time to finally give an interview for us, because you are the ones that you ask questions. But today, I want to challenge you. I want to ask you a lot of questions. So thank you again for creating this space. And I would love to know everything about you, everything, how this dream came. How did you turn this little spark into something that went viral?
Obviously, it all started with Clubhouse. So we all woke up at a certain point, December at some point, and everybody's like, "You've got to use this social media app." And I don't know, I can't speak for these two, but probably they had a similar journey to me. Downloaded the app, went into Clubhouse. What's Clubhouse all about? It was an audio app. You was listening to rooms, and there was a very different vibe in Clubhouse to what's actually there now. And I think selfishly, we were all trying to carve our own niche and find our own space within Clubhouse. You know, none of us were present when Instagram formed or Facebook formed or any of these social media platforms formed. And if there would have been, you would have had explosive growth like many other people's were. So we had the opportunity to be very early on in an app. And I think that was the driver at the start. You know, when do you get the chance to be an early adopter of a social media platform so early on in the social media platform's journey? So that was, you know, for me.
When did it exactly start? When did you enter the
I
app?
came onto Clubhouse on the 26th of December, Boxing Day, in the UK. I woke up, a friend of mine had sent me a message saying, "You've got to get onto Clubhouse, you'll love it." So I went on, and he sent me the invite, and in I went. And at first it was a bit like, what is this? I didn't really know what it was, you know.
So you were saying that you're not a social media person at all before?
No, I'm the most private, as these two were vouched for. I'm a very private person. My whole career had been in the corporate world and not in the world of social media. I didn't need to use social media. So all of a sudden you're into a world where people are marketing their businesses and services via social media. I was already slightly on that journey because I had a podcast and I was trying to carve my own space within sort of business mentoring, coaching, and that environment, helping other business owners. And I think selfishly, I speak for myself, but I went into Clubhouse just trying to accelerate that journey, thinking, right, okay, I can use it as another social media platform. It became very early on, it became very relevant in Clubhouse. If you could speak on a stage and give great value, this is how it worked at the start. If you could be on a stage, firstly, on the right stage, secondly, give great value, a bit like in the real world in seminars, you would attract huge amounts of followers. Like there were some days where we got 1,000 followers in a day.
Wow.
You know, that was the growth. That was that first few weeks really at the start. So we was all there for, you know, for selfish reasons, I would say. We was just trying to find out, let's gain our own followers.
You're very honest, yeah.
Let's generate leads for our own businesses. That was what we was
100%.
That was what we was all there for. What became apparent was there was a lot of egos in Clubhouse, and a bit like in a school playground, cliques of people started to form. Small groups of people started to form, and there was one group over there that you wasn't invited into and you wasn't a part of, and then there was another group over there forming. So we all ended up, and I don't even know how and by who, but I think it might have actually been Ashley that galvanized the first little group. But there was a group of us all from the UK that all, I guess, had similar values. We knew really well, I say we had an understanding of what we believed Clubhouse was, what we thought Clubhouse was. And we thought, well, we can all help each other. We can come into a room. You can moderate with us. We can moderate with you. We'll help you out. James done a room quite early on, and the room ran for like 8 days or something ridiculous, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we needed help from other moderators to do it. So that was it. There was a WhatsApp group. There was about 6 of us in the WhatsApp group, and we were there to support each other. Somebody would run a room. We would help them, and you would help each other. And then Ashley was doing Breakfast for Winners, and it was very much at the start like a speed networking, wasn't it? Very business heavy.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
Very
Yeah, do speed networking every day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like you would come in, and Ashley would say, "What are you looking for?" And you would say, "I'm looking for, somebody to help me with social media." Okay, anybody that can help you with social media, reach out.
Leeds, it was unreal, wasn't it?
And that was basically what it was. And
I didn't know what I was doing. You was adapting with the app.
Didn't even know what. And every day it was changing because the app was changing. The type of rooms the content that people wanted was changing every day. And after about, I'm going to say a couple of months, it may have even been sooner than that, I woke up one morning, I thought, you know what? I don't even know what I'm doing Clubhouse for. Like, it's not really, I didn't have a business to give leads to. I have businesses, but they're not the type of businesses that benefit from leads from social media. So I was just, I can't develop leads from this. I'm spending a lot of time doing this. I found myself walking around my house with earphones in, ignoring the kids, standing doing washing up with earphones in and listening to Clubhouse and just feeling like you needed to be part of every single room that was going on. And I think first of all, I called James and I said, look, we didn't know each other.
So you never
No.
That's
I sent James, first of all, I sent James a message and I said, hi mate, I have a podcast studio, because I had a podcast studio. You're self-declared podcast king, so
self-declared. Other people declared, and a bit of self-declared.
Would you I don't know where you are, but podcast studio might work if you ever initially looking to form a bit of a JV, in as much as you can come and use my podcast studio and you can help me launch other people's podcasts. That was the initial conversation. So James come down here, had a look at the podcast studio. We had a great conversation, hit it off, and then
so I dived into your backstory a bit, didn't I? Was like,
if James is an interviewer, if you spend too much time around James, he'll interview you without you knowing.
This is nature, yeah.
Yeah, so he started asking me questions, and I started giving him some of the answers, and then we formed, I guess, a bit of a relationship. And equally, Ashley had come down around the same time, because I was starting to help out. I think you probably recognised I was starting to come into Breakfast for Winners a lot and help, and that Ashley had just started allowing people to host the room and to take an hour of the room, I think, to give him a break, really. So I'd done that as well, and Ashley had come down. We'd had a chat with Ashley, and I just felt like we all, because I'd spoken to James independently, I'd spoken to Ashley independently, and I felt like we all had.
So you brought them together?
Within reason, within reason.
Paul is the glue that holds our little family together.
Yeah, I felt like we all had a similar connection or similar morals of Clubhouse, because there was some on there that were there to sell snake oil and to use it to use the tactics that they use on stages to sell to others in rooms.
Yeah.
And there are rooms like that where you come in and we'll sell to you from the room, and they'll use all of the tactics, the stage selling techniques that they use in conferences. And we was not like that. We wasn't those guys. We wasn't doing that. So I actually phoned both of them up independently and said, guys, look, I'm spending all this time on Clubhouse for what I don't know. It's taken over my life to some extent, a little bit. I feel myself almost getting a little bit addicted to this, but I don't quite know what for. So unless I can come up with a purpose for this and for the activity, what's the point? Like, generally, what's the point? So we all recognized that the community that was starting to build had some value to it, as in future value, or it had a feeling that something special was happening, as opposed to just people showing up and being part of like social media. So we said, so we just try and take this to the next level. What can we do to try and elevate what we're doing to the next level? It wasn't really at that point about community building. It was, what can we do to get things to the next level and to distinguish ourselves different to everybody else, basically. So I said, well, I've got the podcast studio. Why don't we try and set up some lights, some cameras, and we'll shock everybody and just announce one morning that we're doing a live stream and that you can now view the studio and that we've got a studio. So really, it was about just upping the level of production.
And then you mentioned when we were talking behind the scenes that you're just getting ready to semi-retire yourself. So not that thing anymore. You don't have time for being retired.
Not really.
Now, yeah?
Not at the moment. No, we're creating our own workload. But then I think all of the lessons that we try to get everybody else to do, to evolve, to understand your customer's journey, to try to take them through the steps and the process. So our customers at the end of the day are people that are in our community. Now, the model in which, because you cannot do this forever for free. Like, we've given so much of our time for so long.
The reason why I wanted to bring this is probably people know you a lot now as an influencer in the Clubhouse. And of course, people who are loyal to your rooms, they have heard your story, they have heard you speaking, but there will be other people who haven't been in the room and are watching this interview. Who was Paul before becoming so famous in the Clubhouse?
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
How long have we got?
No, look, I've been in. I started as a kid from a council estate. Started in the London Fire Brigade, or joined the London Fire Brigade, and spent 9 years in the Fire Brigade, and then realised it wasn't for me. Had to do something else, and then I started my own business. And really, I've just been on a business journey for 16 years of making mistakes, not making the mistake a second time. You know, I've been involved in 12 businesses now, 13 I think, with what we're doing, and whether that's an unlucky number or not, I don't know. But yeah, just like any entrepreneur, making lots of mistakes, learning from the mistakes, starting again, making lots of mistakes. And I said I was half semi-retired. I was on a personal development journey myself. I realized that the path I was on in life as an entrepreneur wasn't probably the path I wanted to be. I think we all, if you stay in business for long enough, you will reach a point where you feel a lack of fulfillment in what you do. I think either people get that in their job, or predominantly you probably get it in business. And I was like many others, just my hands were tied by my own business. Like, you know, I felt like I had handcuffs on, I was living a certain life because of my business, really busy, had no time, you know, moving into a certain path in life that probably wasn't for me, you know, destroying family relationships, doing stuff that a stereotypical, probably male entrepreneur would do. That's not the right direction. I was self-aware enough to realize that. And I guess I was on the same personal development journey we all do, going to the same influencers, consuming the same content to try to actually work out, right, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So then, like many of us, especially in this community, there becomes a realization that you want to help others do the same. So you want to help others on that journey. And for me, all of my most painful moments in life came from business mistakes. So I just said to myself, I want to help others avoid those mistakes that I've made by helping them scale or change or grow their businesses in the right way, not the way that I done it, which caused a lot of the pain.
Absolutely.
So that was basically the journey that I was on. And then, you know, the Winners Club came along, and my path's been somewhat diverted a little bit because my own stuff's been put a little bit on to one side because we've been very busy with trying to just evolve and innovate. And I think that's the problem. I'll stop talking in a minute. I'll let the other guys speak. But
well, yes, that's very interesting, because
in this club, in Clubhouse, as you have to evolve on social media, it's evolving quickly and making changes, keeping ahead of, because there's so many people, I think, on Clubhouse particularly, that would love to see you fail. They'd love to see us fail. They'd love to see the community move somewhere else. People are making active efforts to try to steal the audiences and take the audience into other rooms, because they want the people in their rooms to sell to them on stages, to get them into their business funnels. And I think that's the difference with us. There is no funnel. We've come up with a mechanism now to monetize the community to some extent, to pay for the running costs of keeping the community going. And the model that we've come up with is not one where we're going to become millionaires from the community. It's a low cost, low barrier to entry way in which we can share the information that we create on Clubhouse, but partly to just sustain the ability for us to continue to do what we're doing and do it in a way that works. And I think that's why it's worked, is because we're not selling to people, and we're trying to, everything we do is let's evolve, change, serve the community, do it better. How can we give them better access to the information? We're every day having conversations about we're critical of our own rooms. We're running a room and we're having a conversation afterwards. Yeah, that was good today, or we could change this, or it needs to be better, or that conversation is not quite right. Yeah. So every day we're evolving every single day.
Wow, that's powerful. So I can clearly see your vision, and very curious to know about you, James.
I was the same as Paul. I sat there and I was like, why am I spending all this time on this platform? I joined it on the 30th of December. I got an invite from a client of mine. And she was like, oh, you should definitely be on this. It's sort of audio. It's sort of like radio. It's sort of podcast. I don't really know what it is, but go and check it out. And on the 7th of January, I actually put a podcast episode out saying why Clubhouse could be the biggest waste of time of 2021, ... maybe. I'm glad I gave myself that wiggle room because I was completely wrong. But I didn't know what I was here for at all. I just knew that within my space, so I've been in the sort of the broadcasting PR radio game for like 15 years. And I have been given, again, myself, the title of the Podcast Kings was like, as an audio platform, I should probably be on this just to get a bit of an understanding of how it works. I hated it to start with. I just did not like it. And it wasn't until I locked eyes across a crowded room with Ashley Shipman and our bromance formed that actually I was like, I like this guy. He's not here selling snake oil. He's just real and honest. He's not trying to talk with like he was born with a silver spoon. He just is what he is. And Ashley's a proper old school salesman. He's like, let's get on the phone. Oh, I don't even know why I'm getting on the phone with the guy, but let's just have a chat with him. And he's like, oh, I think this is amazing. Like, how are you finding it? We just really hit it off. We're very like-minded. He's like, oh, I think there's a good opportunity here. I was like, okay, cool. But similar to what Paul was mentioning, so Paul's going through this sort of like semi-retirement thing, like I don't need to be more busy. I had the opposite. So I'm growing a business. I haven't got time to be busy on anything else. So I set myself a challenge. I said, if I don't make £1,000 off Clubhouse in 10 days, so 100 quid a day, I'm going to leave. And it was an arbitrary figure, like 1,000 quid, 10 days. I was like, if I put a target on there, and this wasn't like, oh, let's have an aspirational goal. It's like, let me check whether I'm sense check myself. Am I wasting my time here? Anyway, I was like, right. And I wasn't going to turn into like a smarmy snake oil salesman, but I was like, there's a way that you can, if you give value, you become valued within that community. And within the space that I've got, a podcast agency, if you go on and talk about audio and you give people value, then I was finding that leads were coming in. So I was like, right, I've got to convert some of these leads. So anyway, 10 days, 1,000 quid, that was my challenge. And about 3 days, I've done $6,000 directly through Clubhouse. And it wasn't like trickle down revenue or like it will come in over the next few months. Like cash in the bank, in the business has to come directly through Clubhouse. And it did. And I was like, okay, cool. So I said to my wife, I said, look, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this platform. Communication is key here. I know that I'm spending a lot of time on this platform, but it is going to be the biggest driver of the podcast agency that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. Like I was around in the PR game. You
sensed it from the very beginning.
100, not from the beginning. From about the third week in, though, I could see. I was like, this is different. I was around in 2012. I was already working with the likes of like BMW and Nando's and Thomas Cook and Nissan, and all these big brands when influencer marketing came around the first time. And I remember that influencer marketing because in the PR space, like, what is this thing? It's sort of like paid for. It's sort of editorial, but it's not. It's like advertorial. How does it work? And I saw the call to action that it was driving at the time. And I missed that boat because I wasn't an influencer and I'm still not now. But I was like, this has got the ability to give us who are early on it the same power as influencers have got within influencer marketing in 2012. So I just doubled down on it. I was like, this is a great opportunity. And Paul mentioned a minute ago, there's a gang of like 6 of us who are literally just supporting each other because I had this room. I was like, I'm going to call it the Daily Habits of High Performance. And I was thinking it'll be a daily room. After the first 3 hours, I'm like, I ain't doing this every day. Like I'll do this once a week, but we'll call it Daily Habits because everyone was talking about very specific niche topics, marketing, sales, social media, Instagram, whatever. But no one was talking about mindset sort of generally. So I was like, let's have a general conversation about what people are doing. Because there's a mate, to start with, you had Jesse Itzler, you had John Lee Dumas, Lewis Howes, all these like mega Grant Cardone, Paris Hilton, Tyrese, all these like megastar celebrities and influencers who are floating about on the platform. It's like, well, let's just talk about what these people are doing. So the Daily Habits, the second week we ever ran it, it started on Sunday and it ran till Thursday. Wow. It ran for 5 days non-stop. And it had, I don't know, at certain points it would have 1,500, 1,600 people in the room together at the same time. We probably
I
had.
think it went up to about 3,500 people at any one time in that room.
It was
yeah,
nuts.
it was big.
But you were 3 of you together.
No. So this was just me. So there was me and there was 6 of us in like a little WhatsApp.
Yeah,
group,
we was in
wasn't
the
there?
room, but we wasn't.
But we were
collectively
we
together.
That was the very, very beginning. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's how the gang had come together. It's like, well, we can't run these rooms by ourselves. Ash was running Breakfast with Winners by himself every day.
Wow.
For 3 hours a day. And he's like, oh God, I think it literally starts with, guys, I've got a meeting, I've got a sales call. Can anyone take over for half an hour? And that's literally how it evolved. So there's about 6 of us. We're like, well, why don't we, Ash is running these breakfast rooms. There's a lady called Georgia, who's a part of our gang. She was running ones on branding. I was going to do ones on podcasting. Paul was thinking about doing ones on sort of business. So it's like, well, if everyone's doing like their own show each day, then they can run it and everyone else can support if they need to. So like if you get a phone call or whatever, because rooms were running, it was quite standard that rooms would run for like 6-9 hours. That was like the thing. There wasn't really any formats or it wasn't formulaic at this point. So if you need to dip out or the kids or you need to just go to the loo or whatever, someone else could take over for you for a bit. And that's how it evolved. And then as Paul mentioned a minute ago, then from just being in that little gang, you could see who had an alignment of values. You could see who was there to really add value and who was there to add value and to line their own pockets in the short term. There's nothing wrong with being intentional about making money in business. Your outcome as a business is to make money. If you're not in it to make money, then what are you in business for? Because some people are like, I just want to help people. Forget that. Like, get strong, then give strong. Like that way round. Don't worry about like helping everybody else until you can help yourself, frankly. But quite early, we were like, you know what? There's a massive opportunity here if you go against the tide, which everyone else is trying to sell a 50 quid course.
Find a gap that is
found a gap, and then we plugged that gap, and it was quite clear there was going to be, you know, Paul said, oh, we'll come down, and everyone had the same opportunity in the gang. Why don't we come down, we'll see if there's something we could do together. It was me, Ash and Paul who took that opportunity and ran with that opportunity. And when I came down and got chatting to Paul about his background and stuff, I was like, mate, we've got to do something. Like, we've got an opportunity here.
That you didn't have a plan, but intuitively you knew that if you follow this path of providing something that is different, it's not out there, you're going to the right direction. So it doesn't seem that you really intentionally had a plan, but you had that instinct that what is right.
We had a sense. I've had it a couple of times in business when the time, you know, maybe people who are listening or watching this have had it. When you've been in like sales for a certain amount of time and your brain gets to a certain place, when the sales start coming in, you don't have to keep pushing the sales out. That shift, you can't really put your finger on it. You're like, oh, something's happening here. I had that feeling. I was just like, there's something here, like you say, intuition or whatever.
Your experience in branding and working with corporates and all this experience that you had before, did that help?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because as I say, I saw week 3, I was like, this is influencer marketing in 2012 all over again. We were doing, at the beginning, you do an hour on Clubhouse and you get 100 followers per hour that you were on. And of those, I then was like, right, well, I'll DM every single person. So then 50% of them would come across your Instagram, and then 50% of them you'd engage with and start a conversation with. So 100 in an hour, 50 go across your Instagram, 25. So 25 people per hour you're now engaged in. And within a marketing agency or a content agency model that I've got, you only need to land one of those people per day for a couple of grand and you're away to the races.
Yeah,
and then I literally just did
you can translate it immediately.
Yeah,
to make
but it was, I remember seeing influencer marketing. Like, what the hell is this? This will never take off. And then it did. It just blew. And I was like, I've got the same feeling about this. But then I think the other thing was, I was like, I'm feeling this. Am I right though? And then when I had the conversation with Paul, and he's like, I don't really know what I'm here for. And unless I can make it make sense, I'm just going to duck out. I was thinking, I'm having the same thoughts. And Ash is busy with his business. He's got a load of staff.
Now, this is a very good point, because all the time as you have been speaking, I've been thinking, and probably this is a question for you, Ashley. Do you think that this has been like a divine plan, designed? Because it feels like none of you knew where you're going. None of you knew that you are here with a plan. It feels like some kind of universal plan, or the plan was somewhere in the quantum field.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
What do you think about this?
So
Ash, so uncomfortable. Talk about the quantum plan, Ash.
I know. But
The power of manifestation.
my track record of being an entrepreneur has been literally a roller coaster, yeah. And all I wanted to do was achieve success now. Wanted it now. Wanted to achieve it now. Yeah. And I used to always get told by people further down the line that trust the process. And early on, like I was trying to find the right people to click with, because as we said, you could see that some people didn't have their vision aligned with what I had. And then, yeah, connecting with Paul, James, moving forward, creating this, it's like they've got experience in their fields. We stay in our lanes in our fields. We all contribute together as a collective. But no one knew what was going on with Clubhouse. Like we were just all testing it, and I was enjoying it every single day. But what I'm doing is I'm trusting this process. Like
so
like
you had a drive inside you. You had like a calling. You had like you were hungry. Because when you say I wanted it now, it feels like you really wanted it. You wanted something. You didn't know where it's coming from, but it feels like somehow was hidden inside you. Calling.
It's as I said, in my journey, it's been up and down. I never had support. And anyone in business could understand the different parts of the journey. Like, as we were saying, the ego earlier. But what I'm saying is the loneliness, the am I getting it right? Is it going to be right? And all I ever did was try to surround myself with the right people previous to Clubhouse. And when entering the app and seeing the people, as James was saying, like Paris Hilton, Les Brown, Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy, people that I had followed, I was in awe. So I was just like, wow. And then what I want to do is align with the right people. And with that, getting inspiration from like James going, let's look at this. Paul, slow down, Ash, slow down, James. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. I think that we all bring a skill set to the table between us. That is.
So what was your background before you started this?
Okay, the background before this was sales. So I started as a postboy for about 3 weeks. Went to a sales and marketing director within 4 years, running a team. Took a company, scaled the company very fast. This wasn't on my own, just in the sales and marketing department. And I had a real big reality check when I went on my own, thinking how I knew business. I didn't, because I had the right support around me. And I know about having the support around me, leave me to do what I do with the right support. And then that's crazy. So yeah, I went from there. I've trialed loads of things. I've failed a lot of the time. But I think like entrepreneurship is just failure and lesson till you succeed. And yeah, then come onto the app around January. So sales and marketing is, you cut me in half. There's sales, there's marketing. It's more of the marketing conversion stuff that's in me. If you cut me in half, that's what you get out of me. And it sort of comes across as sometimes I get called a something salesman or this salesman. And what it is, and the thing is, what I was very protective of as well going into Clubhouse, and what I started to see was that there was a lot of people being sold snake oil. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I've been one of them people as well that have bought into this stuff, and the value that we was given and the protection of making sure that anything that was sold, it was verified. And I think that's very, very important when you're building a community, because you're going to get made responsible. As early on in the app, I was getting the blame for people's purchases because I was putting them on a stage. They're on a stage, they're selling. So it's like I'm condoning what they are selling. And that was the thing is, as James said, if you're not in business to make money, then why are you there? So from that day, it was like, right, no picture room, because it was more than once. Yeah. Can I have this person's number? They've done this, they've done that, they've done this, they've done that. And yeah, and then from that, cut it. And I wanted to create a community where entrepreneurs could come and get the support they needed. Because if I had this support, if I had Clubhouse 4 or 5 years ago, I would have made less mistakes. I would have gone further in my journey, and I would have connected with some phenomenal people and got into partnership with James and Paul. And on this journey, I am, trusting the process. I think we've got a lot of stuff in place now. And I think the opportunities that are coming our way are left, right, and center. And I think we just need to enjoy that. We have our strategies, we have our marketing plans, and I think we should just enjoy that journey Just keep pushing. I just
A
think
lot of people targeted Ash as well to start with.
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, because to start with, there was a few sort of, it was quite easy to gain a bit of a following, but there was a few people in the States and there's a few people here who really became like the linchpin. Like I think it was on a podcast episode I did with Ash where I called him the king of Clubhouse, and it just kind of stuck. But then the perception to reality, like Ash became the go-to guy in the UK. If you wanted to sell anything, you wanted to have a big room, you wanted to get a big room. I mean, to start with, you were getting tagged into every room that was going in the UK, weren't you?
Now,
They knew it was being pulled in.
All of you, before the Clubhouse, you're doing your thing, you're private. Of course, you come from the branding and marketing, and probably you have been a little bit more out there. But how does it feel now that you became so famous, like overnight? How does it make you feel? I mean, people keep talking about you when you're not in the room. My ladies keep mentioning your names all the time. Everybody knows in my community. I'm just like, who is this Ashley? Who's James? I mean,
the thing you got to remember is that you're famous on one app on your phone. That's it. I think if you let it go to your head beyond that, you get yourself really in trouble quite quick, like and the sort of the fame or the infamy or whatever. It wasn't really about that. It wasn't even about having the biggest. Ash always says it's not about having the biggest rooms. It's about having the most impactful room, and that's what it comes down to. But not from like aren't you so giving? Because we know further down the line that will pay us back. So if you believe in like the universal law or the quantum or doing the right stuff,
you become so popular in such a short time.
I don't even see it that we're popular.
You are.
I see it like we are leading. I'm saying I'm talking collectively because of this how it feels. We see ourselves as the leaders of the group in as much as we set the tone, we set the environment, we set the way that we want it to be done in the community, and then we hope that others follow. So when the rooms start to go off track a little bit, one of us will interject and bring the conversation back into line. When the rooms have maybe been a bit dry and the conversation has not been great for a few days, one of us will actively grab hold of it, take the room for an hour and give it some spark and some energy. So I almost see us as like the drivers of the community, but I certainly wouldn't say I feel like we're popular celebrities in any way. I think we've been very lucky to realize that there's an opportunity to galvanize a community, and that's what we've done really. Like we all have our own skill sets. If you wanted to say, right, I'm going to form a business tomorrow, who are the people that you'd want? You'd want somebody that's got their eye on their branding or understands how to build a brand. First of all, that's what you'd want. Tick number one. You'd want the person that's very social, that galvanizes others and galvanizes a community. That's the next tick in the box. And then you'd want somebody that's tinkering in the background, coming up with ways to change, improve, and make stuff happen. And we've got all three of those personalities. So we were very lucky to find ourselves, I think, in that situation, and then realize that there was an opportunity to, number one, provide knowledge and information to people that probably wouldn't have access to it. And then number two, galvanize that community and help it. It would have been really, we had conversations. It would have been really easy to say, right, let's start a mastermind program and charge everybody £5,000 to be part of it. Let's start an online course. And we went through those conversations. We were thinking, can we do an online course? Should we do a mastermind? Should we do this? Because we could have made a lot of money from the community, but they probably wouldn't be there now. And I think the fact that we've become, we've got the people that sell on stage and use the selling on stage tactics as members of the community there, because they're not being sold to on stages, because they're gathering information or being able to have that safe space. So I wouldn't say I see myself as being popular in any way, shape or form.
Your priority is to keep the community together, to share values, to provide the right service that they need, and they come together.
I think the power in it is that we've empowered other people. That's the key to it. The power is that we've empowered other people. Paul mentioned it right at the beginning. To start with, it was like a playground. There were these little cliques, these little popular cliques, and you couldn't get onto their room, or you couldn't get onto their stage, or they, the moderator green bean. It sounded ridiculous as this sounds. It was like the moderator green bean was almost like this thing to chase after. There's people who are selling programs, and part of the sell of the program was that I'll bring you up on stage, I'll make you a moderator. People were flogging it. If Ash had flogged the rights to, Breakfast with Winners, he probably could have done six figures in month number one. It's gutted now. What? But really, this has got the ability to be.
The Breakfast with Winners, this amazing brand that you have created now. So you're saying at the beginning you had no idea where this is going, but now it looks like you already have created.
We realized that we had a channel. I think that's the key with this is people. There's two types of people on Clubhouse. Well, I think we're maybe Breakfast with Champions. Glenn's probably similar to us, maybe in his mindset from what I can see from the outside. But there's types of people that see it as a room to get people into the room, to sell to them, to bring people into their funnel. And it's a driver for new leads in their business. That's a certain type of person that's using Clubhouse. Nothing wrong with that, because that they've got their business ecosystems to support, and they do that on Facebook, they do that on Instagram, and Clubhouse is another version of that. We identified ourselves very early on, probably from Breakfast with Winners, as it's a platform and we are the channel. We are the channel, and our vision, which is now coming a little bit of reality because people are starting to want to operate their own rooms within the Winners Club, was that we can be a channel for others. So we can, if we create the space, if we develop the tools, the tactics, the techniques to make it work, which is exactly what we're doing with the studios, with our infrastructure, with the tools we're developing behind the scenes.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about this. But you have done something unique that not many. I mean, I haven't seen anybody else in the whole. A platform of Clubhouse that has created what you have created.
Well, it was on that mindset of create the channel.
How did you come with this idea of building the real studio and giving the real life experience?
Well, I want to throw in there. I think it was when my phone blew up once with the BBC News, and then and
Heart Radio covered it, didn't they?
Heart Radio covered the show.
Really?
Someone
was doing an article on Clubhouse, wasn't they?
And someone come on.
Was the article.
Yeah, no, with Heart, someone was on live radio and said, I was in a show called Breakfast with Winners on Clubhouse, and they invited me to speak. I got so nervous, so I left the room, and I come back and removed myself to the audience and was waiting to put my hand back up again. And then it hit the BBC.
Then there was a German tech blog, wasn't there?
Then there was a German
massive German tech blog. Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that happened in a very short space of time.
Fast, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it was like, right, we need to make sure that we are really growing this in the right way. And I think that's why it works so well, because it is a space, it's a safe space. And I always say it's a space I wish I had early on in my journey. So if we can provide that, and
it comes in the right time,
and the impact that I think we have is the messages that I receive on my inbox.
Okay, tell me the truth. How many messages you receive every day?
Oh, dozens. It's died off. It was hundreds, wasn't it?
Do you have your virtual assistants?
I think I've had around 6,000 since January.
And how do you manage it? How do you?
Ashley's got a hierarchy of minions that work for him.
No, I at first it was the most overwhelming thing in the world.
It was mental.
It was so overwhelming, and what was happening is it was like. It was when it all died down, and I got someone to help me with my inbox and things like that. The phenomenal people that were asking to connect with me at the time, it was just like
Tim Story phoned you, didn't he?
Yeah,
Tim Story. So Oprah Winfrey's life coach. He's like, what's your number? He didn't know, and he just picked up the phone. He's like, hello. He's like, hey, it's Tim Story. It's Tim, and he's like, Tim who? Tim Story, and he's like having this conversation with. You ever heard of Tim Story? He just phoned me. I was like, Oprah's life coach? Are you joking?
Wow.
And I was just like, that's
the beauty of it, where you just do your thing.
But it's not that. It's been like billionaires, business icons, the phenomenal people that come through. And the thing is, I was in such this busy craziness that. It had gone out the window, and it was just the fact that I'd spoke to someone that I'd followed for a while, and I just said to him, I said, why are you connected with me? I'm used to asking uncomfortable questions. So I was like, why did you connect with me? And he said, because I get about 800 messages a day, and you just don't want nothing from me. And I said, but he's like, so why do you want to turn around and flip the question? Why do you want to connect with me? And I just said, I'd just like to have you as a friend and have you in my network. And he was like, you're the first ever person that said that to me. And that was someone who's just had his business valued at £5 billion.
This is so inspirational.
And
I think that's half of the, not even the trick. I think that's maybe the secret to the success here is that Ash didn't even have a clue who Tim Story was. If Tim Story phoned me, I'd have been like, "Oh, hey Tim, oh yeah," I tried to pitch him, like, "Oh, come onto this show," whatever. Ash couldn't give a damn because he didn't know who the guy was. Daniel Masters, a guy who, like I say, he's had his cryptocurrency blockchain company valued at £4 billion. Chat-Tree. Do you remember the guy who owns One Championship, which is like Asia's version of UFC? Sir Tim Smith from the Eden Project, all these the CIO advice.
Reebok.
Well, I think other people have seen that we've got a space that is benefit of because listen, everybody's in Clubhouse or the world of social media for a reason. Yeah, they're either consumers or they're producers. Most of the people we deal with are producers. They're producing their own content. They see us, and this is exactly the vision that we had quite early, is we can be the destination for these people to come to. So if you was going to launch a book, you could go and launch, you'd do a book tour, you'd do a tour of radio stations, you'd go around and you'd go on Capital FM, Heart Radio, Kiss FM, you'd do a tour of radio stations. So why can't Clubhouse be a destination as part of that tour? And we can be, if we can be that space for people, then brilliant, because it gives us content, it gives us the ability to get access to these guests. And I think we've been seen as that. We've been seen as, people can see the fact that there is a community there that can be reached. We partnered with indirectly with the UK government through a marketing agency. We was the first people to bring Boris Johnson onto Clubhouse.
And this is as a result of what you're doing.
With Food Breakfast with Winners, because we had the community. But I think it goes back to, it would have been, especially for Ashley, it would have been very easy to get distracted when you're getting 6,000 messages from people all wanting to form partnerships, all wanting to use your community or to partner with you because you've got access to the people that are on Clubhouse. It would be very easy to get distracted. And we've been
the biggest driving force here within you.
I think it's completely equal. We all drive in different. We're all pulling in the same direction, but we all drive it in a different way. If that makes sense. Ash wants to run at 100 miles an hour. He wants to go too fast. Paul wants to rein it in to make sure that none of the wheels fall off. Yeah. I wanted to make sure it all's got all the bells and whistles and looks pretty. So we're all pulling in the same direction, but we've all got an equal sort of skill set to bring to it, equal value to bring to it. But again, I think it's because the partnership and the relationship was set up from the word go. Because I remember having a conversation earlier with Ash. I said, you should join this WhatsApp group, because Ash wasn't part of it to start with, was he?
No.
He wasn't part of it. So you should join this WhatsApp group mate. And because we all just like support each other's rooms, he was like, "Yeah, with respect, I don't want to like align myself with anybody," because he was getting so many of these stakeholder salespeople going, "Oh, come on, Ash, come over with us." And I said, "No." I said, "It's not about like no one's going to own anything. It's like but if you need a bit of support with Breakfast with Winners, just let us know." And he still didn't want to for a few days. There's a couple of times I think where you need somebody to jump in, and I put a message in the group and said, "Ash is that Breakfast with Winners room. It needs a bit of a hand." Then a few of us jumped into it. I said, well, just if you want, I said, it's easy. Just jump in the WhatsApp group and just message us if you want to. And that's how it all evolved. But to start with, there was like people picking up the phone and going, come into our little gang, Ash, come into our little gang.
Because you all have families.
Yes.
I had a child through this year.
Yeah. Or how do you balance all of this?
Well, me personally, at the start, you'd want to be we was on Clubhouse 24 hours a day, as much as possible. You was even going into a Clubhouse room, leaving your phone on and going to sleep, coming back and you'll still be in the room. Yeah. It's not like that now. Me personally, I'm only on Clubhouse in our own rooms for a purpose. If there's, I very rarely go into anybody else's rooms. Occasionally, some people that I respect in Clubhouse have said, "Can you come into our room?" Or I might do that, but very rarely. It's like, the destination for me is if there's a Winners Club activity going on Clubhouse, I'll be there. Other than that, I'm offline. I'm doing my own stuff. And I think we're all a little bit like that now. Yeah, we all act in that way. But for the first few months, no.
Do you have a plan now? Because at the beginning you didn't have a plan. So what is your plan? And especially you, Paul, being an expert in scaling, what is your vision? How are you going to scale all of this together?
Spread our message further with the app.
Yeah, look, I see us as why can't the Winners Club be an inspirational hub for content and learning, similar to Netflix or a BBC or a TV channel? Why can't it get there? Why can't we over time develop the right content, give people access to the information, to real life-changing content? Yes, there's documentaries that are made. Yes, there's information that's made.
This show somewhere like in a BBC or in a big...
I don't think so, because we're our own producers. Nobody's coming in and telling us what to do.
Probably would like somebody would like to buy it. Have you thought about it?
Potentially, but again, the power is in the fact that we are in control of our own destiny. So, for example, I'm a very much a failed radio presenter. My dream was to go and work on Radio 1, Radio 2, or one of the big radio stations. But you're told, right, you've got 43 minutes to fill. You've also got the adverts. You've got to get in and out of this time. You've got the weather. You've got the news. You've got the travel. You've got the sponsorship reads, blah, blah, blah. It sounds really exciting. But actually with this, we can do whatever we want to do. You know, this morning we ended up talking about, you know, the ability to scale globally. On Sunday, we'll talk about, you know, transcendental meditation. We'll do stuff with, you know, some of the biggest marketing agencies on the planet. We have the, you know, guy from CEO of Iceland Foods who did was doing it on a media tour. He comes and does us on the Thursday and does Chris Evans' breakfast show on the Friday. And his agency are going, can we come back on at some point because we could sell more books? Got Tim Story wants to come on for the third time because it's the most fourth time, yeah. Because of the power of the community. So there's no need for it to go anywhere else. And that puts you in a really strong position, because when you don't need anybody else, then everybody comes knocking. It's almost like one of those unfair advantages. You know, when you start off in business and you don't know what you don't know, and you need the clients, you need the cash flow, blah, blah. We're in the position now. We don't need anybody. We don't need anybody because we're making our own content.
That way.
No, at first
we was all knocking on each other's doors. We was knocking on everyone's doors, and yeah, just what happened early on is the moment I turned around, I said, "This is a no pitch room." There was a whole clique of people that formed in the room.
Yeah, mentality shifted.
Yeah, the whole mentality shifted because they couldn't see the value there.
People feel the energy.
Yeah, and then I said no selling, and then all I was receiving in my messages is screenshots of people trying to sink the show. So then when I had support from these two, it was just like an alignment. It was just really was.
Oh yeah, there was little gangs trying to create other rooms in there and pulling people out and getting other moderators out,
and then telling to go and ruin the community. And then I would have people come on the stage and start like not following the rules. So then I had to moan, and then it was like getting heated, and then I was getting messages like saying that people are coming in directly. Because what happened was they helped me build the audience and then didn't like the way it went.
The education space in business specifically has got very information is accessible to the few, right? Especially if you're starting your business or you're starting your journey, it can be very difficult to get tactical, actionable information to get you from A to B. Sometimes you find yourself lost. I found myself lost in somebody else's marketing funnel, and then you're being taken in a direction you don't necessarily want to be part of. I think we've got the ability to generally make information, the right content and information available to the masses for a fair price that's available, that covers the value of the information, but by, we can make it available to many people, which is what we're trying to do with the Winners Club. And we're trying to move in a direction where, because Clubhouse could stop tomorrow, and then what happens to us? If Clubhouse finishes tomorrow, in 5 years' time, nobody will ever remember the Winners Club. So we're very much aware of that, and we're very much aware of this needs to transcend into something other than just Clubhouse. So what is that in the future? That's a hub of, at the end of the day, we create content.
And where do you see this? Let's say,
well, we are content creators. We are creating content, and we're giving everybody, and we're giving others the space to create their content, and they're receiving leads, and their business models are thriving by us giving them the space to create content. So effectively, if you look at that in old school terms, we are the producers of content, which would be either radio shows, TV shows, documentaries. We are, by default, the producers of that type of content now. So I see it as, let's continue to give people the space, the platform to produce content that can change other people's lives. We are, goes down to the conversations we have. I don't know about you guys, but 5 years ago, we would not be openly on microphones having some of the conversations that we openly have when we're in each other's company. We're very open and vulnerable about the way we share, and then that we encourage others to be open and vulnerable.
One more thing that I'm very intrigued. 3 men. It is an accident? It just happened? Why is number one?
The group, when we started out, the WhatsApp group was 50-50, wasn't it? I think there was 8 of us to start with in the group.
It was 50-50.
4 guys, 4 girls, and it just ended up that we were the ones who...
The girls didn't join you?
No.
Well, look,
they didn't disjoin us, if that makes sense, but there was an opportunity where Paul said, look, I've got this studio, and like he said, come down and have a look at it from my agency's purposes. Like, this is really nice. This would be a great fit. I'll bring some clients down. I'll use your studio. I'll become a client of your studio services. But then during that's what I thought it was going to be. But during that conversation, I was like, I like this guy a lot. Hashtag bromance, which makes him really uncomfortable. I was like, he's got so much value to offer. And you could see there was an alignment of values. And then the next week, or I think the week before, he'd met with Ash, and he's like, why don't we do something live on that Friday? Because the first one, I don't think we did it as like a live stream. We did it,
but it was the
from
biggest
the studio.
I think it was a flop, wasn't it? I think it was.
But we ended up doing
the technology didn't work.
We ended up having we were playing the music through the headphones and then into the phone and cobbling it all together. And we were just the ones who took the action. So people have voted with their feet.
We invited people along for the journey.
Do you know what though? You raise a very good point. It's something we're very consciously aware of now. I do believe probably the whole, and I'll be slightly controversial here, probably there is some element of unconscious bias between the three of us, because you attract people that you're like and that you're similar to, that share similar values. And we all was attracted to each other for a reason and a purpose. Probably because of that, some of that unconscious bias. We are very aware, because we're told regularly, believe it or not. Now, we don't believe in any way. We try to shape our community in a way that works for everybody. I believe we have a very inclusive feel to what we do. We have people from all parts of the world, men, women, all different ethnic backgrounds, and we embrace that. But on a couple of occasions, we've been told, when we've absolutely had no intention at all, that the first two lines of all of the moderators are male. The first two lines of all of the moderators are white males. And there's been no intention of creating that environment at all. We would, if you speak to any of the females that are really in our community, the likes of Lucienne, Georgia, we fully support what they're trying to do. And we generally are champions for them and like advocates for the content that they are creating.
Yeah, we're fully aware of how the world works.
But we've some of the accusations that have been thrown at us since we've been doing what we're doing, honestly, is we've had accusations made against us of being racist.
We've had fruity voice notes, haven't you?
I've had people screaming down my phone through a voice note on Instagram.
By default, because we're three white guys, we must be racist. That is generally we've had those.
You wouldn't believe it.
We've had those assumptions made at us before, and it's anything but that. It's anything but that.
I have attended your rooms hundreds of times, and I never have seen a room that it gives so much value.
It's the most diverse room.
And freedom to everybody.
We have one value, and that's that others create value in the community. So if you come up as a speaker and you create value, you are welcome to stay there for as long as we're in existence. And that is generally how we work. But when people don't come and do that, or they come with another ulterior motive, then we can recognize that pretty quickly. And James likes to press the move to audience button and move people. But that's what we've got our eye on. But yes, we are aware potentially, because this year, let's be honest, the last 2 years, the word unconscious bias has come to the forefront. The equality, diversity, it's all more open about. We wouldn't be having this conversation 2 years ago. So we are aware of it, but we would say that we've been as inclusive as we could be, other than actually at the point of when we formed the partnership, and we didn't know that what we was doing then was going to end up and result in being a business. When we all actually sat down together and said, let's do something, we were still probably all thinking in the back of our head, this will drive leads for my business. What's the worst thing that will happen here? I'll raise my profile and we'll drive some leads to our business. And at some point, all of our mentalities shifted to, we've got something special.
Come together, do you think you'd have this power separate?
No,
Is it as a result of you have found the perfect combination of three of you?
We're all different.
You're all different. You have common values, but we're really different.
I reckon if I had a prediction, you would be doing a podcast room once a week, generating leads to your podcast.
I'll be doing it 5 days a week, mate.
Ashley probably would have been bought into somebody else's clique and would be doing a room selling courses or training courses or training products every day probably.
Because I was paying for proximity to some people.
And how about you?
I wouldn't be on Clubhouse.
No, you wouldn't.
No,
I would have.
Yeah,
I would have carried on with my sitting in my lonely room studio, recording my podcast once a week and putting it out there, thinking that people cared about it.
What we've created here, this is the epitome of the whole being more than the sum of its individual parts. And this is the, what Napoleon Hill talks about in the 50s about the power of a mastermind and bringing collective, there's like a 30, that's a bit, woo-woo, but that sort of like collective wisdom, there's almost like a fourth brain in the room when there's the three of us together, is the epitome of that. And as I mentioned earlier, Paul wants everything systemized and processed and all of the nuts and bolts in place. Ash wants to run at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm probably not out of everybody. I'm probably the one who's more protective of the brand. So I don't want that person on the stage. I don't want that person to say, I'll chuck them back in the ocean, blah, blah, blah. And so everyone draws the best out of each other. And I've been in partnerships before where you've all got the same skill sets, and those partnerships are terrible because you tend to be all awful at the same stuff. But here, I'm not the systems and process guy. Paul is. I'm not the sales and the community building guy. I'm not the inclusive one because I'm very protective of the brand. Ash is. But in terms of then looking at the sort of the media vision, and this is the stuff that we've not even talked about.
Protection.
100%. But the other thing that we clocked really early on, which we haven't really even spoken about anywhere ever, is we've got a whole media agency that sits behind what we're doing. So we've got no need to sell to the community because we've got something else that's underpinning it. And we said very early on, we could either burn very bright and very fast now. We can sell thousands and thousands of 50 quid courses. We could have done 100, 200, 300 grand, £250,000 easy out of the community. But what we're playing is a game that will pay us off in 2 years, but then that pays off big time, 7-8 figure like payoff, not short term. So we've got a whole media consultancy angle that we've created, and we've made that before we did anything else. So all we needed the community to do was to be engaged with the content. That was it. So
and you have a global audience because I've seen people from United
It's amazing.
States, they stay awake.
It's amazing.
They stay awake.
2-3 o'clock in the morning for them, isn't it?
We've just launched an app, which is basically a suite of tools that can that people from the community can benefit from. So we've effectively got there's a free version of our app where people can get some access to.
What is the name of the app?
It's the Winners Club. The Winners Club, yeah. So it doesn't launch yet. It launches on the 14th of August, but we've done a pre-launch for it.
So what is the goal of the?
So, but basically, there's some tools missing from Clubhouse that we've decided we need. Some ways for the moderators to communicate. Some ways for the chat function to work a bit better. So we've put them into our app. But then equally, going back to this channel perspective, that we are a channel. We realize that every single day we create 3 hours of content, every single day. Content that if listened again by people can actually benefit them. They could actually take actionable steps to improve their businesses, their lives. So we've come up with a format to give people access to that information. So inside the app, the premium version is that people can get replays to every one of our Clubhouse rooms. We will summarize.
So recording everything.
We'll summarize the content to give people like a 2-minute summary what happened in the rooms, and then we'll extract the best bits, what we call mic drop moments, those moments when somebody comes on and gives really good advice and value, but that's gone then. Once that's spoken in Clubhouse, it's into the ether. Nobody's ever going to hear that again. So we can pick those out and put them into the app and summarize them and give people access to that. So effectively, we're building up an encyclopedia of our content that people can get access to.
And support the community by getting their content.
And the app is going to be free.
There's a free version, and then to get access to the replay features and all of the content, there's a premium version. But again, the subscription level that we've set is so that it's manageable for everybody. It's like less than £10 per month to get access to all of that, and that's information that would cost you thousands in traditional masterminds and traditional content. But what you mentioned about a global audience, what's amazing is we can see when people register where they click on the link to register from, and there's people in Africa, there's people in the Far East, the Middle East, literally in America. It is predominantly the US and UK, but then it amazes you. We had somebody register last week from the Maldives.
That's right, yeah.
in Mao in the Maldives, and it is turning into a global.
Have you thought? This is my. Kind of how my mind works, because I have franchised my club in other countries. Have you had like people asking you, can I have your club, let's say in America or in Paris or in Amsterdam?
I have.
Have you thought about?
Didn't tell us about that. What did you say to them?
Maybe there's a Winners Club Germany. We don't know.
No, I have, but we like to watch people before we bring them in, and we like to see their loyalty, their brand loyalty, because if there's no brand loyalty to the Winners Club and they just want to use the audience, then they're not going to get brought in. I'll get asked quite a few times.
And we've developed the moderators, I think. All of the moderators, the pattern in which and the way we moderate
So what are
it's
the
unique to
criteria
us.
for your room, your panelists, your moderators? How do you qualify them? Because I believe everybody wants to be in the panel of.
Well, we've
Women's
just come up with this again ascension plan of the steps that people can take, because what the end goal is that somebody can host their own room under the Winners Club brand within the Winners Club and have their own show on our channel. Effectively, that's the end goal. But how do you get there? So we've tried to document out those steps. So initially, it's somebody coming into the room and giving value on stage. You know, showing up occasionally and giving some value. And actually, you know what? Most of the time, by hearing somebody on a regular basis, you can understand the purposes that they're there for. If after a few weeks they're still coming in with the ethos of I'm here to help and share value, you generally get a feel for whether or not they're the right type of person. Then the next step of that is they're made a moderator within the room, and you know, as a sign of loyalty, they're given the status of being a regular moderator in Breakfast with Winners. And then the step beyond that is to then approach them to say, would you like to host a room within the Winners Club, which we've only just started to do. So we've just filled out 4 shows per week at the moment in the evening. So we've now got Breakfast with Winners.
From breakfast, you're turning into dinners, yeah?
Yes, I know. So we've now got breakfast. If you look at traditional radio, you'd have the most popular times are breakfast and drive time, which is the evenings. So we've now got rooms.
How are you going to manage the time being so consistent? Morning,
moderators. No, that's where we brought the moderators.
That's where we brought the moderators in, because it's very much their room. So us as a production
so you
team,
mean you're not going to be there?
We are, and as a production team, we're doing the music, the jingles, the recording. We do all of that part in the background. At the moment, it's the 3 of us doing that part in the background, but very much it's their room and they're running their own room. Over time, we'll find that production element once we know exactly what that is, because that's still evolving every day. But when we actually can know what that is and systemize it in a way, we'll find others that can do that for us, the production element.
You can turn it into 24 hours radio show, podcast show, whatever.
If effectively, if we could bring other people in at various points and have them host rooms, but in terms of how they get that journey, it's you've got to come and give value. You've got to show a sign of loyalty to the brand and to what we're doing over that period of time, whether that's 5 weeks, 6 months, we don't really know. We get a feel for whether or not somebody is the right fit and loyal to what we're doing, and then we'll try and help them and give them the tools. At the end of it, we've developed a suite of tools that we know works for us, so we can give those tools to them to let them run their rooms. And we had an example last week. We had somebody that was running their own rooms very successfully. That was the right fit for us, that has been loyal to us over time, and came into our room, and the numbers to what they would normally get in their own rooms were 3 or 4 times what they would usually get. I think that's what people are starting to realize, is to run a regular room, show up consistently on Clubhouse, and to try and build a club is hard, very hard work. And a lot of people will try to go their own way, build their own club, try to do it on their own, and then go back to the exact same values that we all found early on. It's better to be part of a team and do it as part of a team, because it's bloody difficult to do on your own.
Collaboration is key.
So since we are, just before we finish, I mean, I could go forever with you guys. Can you probably, from this experience, can you give some tips, some advice? What would be the best way to utilize, to monetize, to make sure that every single minute in the Clubhouse is properly managed and has a goal and has a kind of
I would say collaboration first. Go with intention. Participate and support other people in their rooms if you're looking to grow a network. If you're not that sort of guy and if you want to grow on the platform, then make sure you are putting your hand up in the audience. Make sure you're asking good questions, the right questions. And then the last one is to make sure you're following the rules of anyone's room. So not just us, if you go into anyone else's room, understand the rules, the culture, and follow that. And yeah, make sure you reach out and take the conversation further than Clubhouse. That's what I would say.
That'll probably do it.
Authenticity, I would say. Be authentic.
Oh, you'll be called out. You'll be called out.
Be authentic from day one, and be value driven. Be there to give other people value. Like the response. I've shared some stuff on Clubhouse that I've never shared anywhere else, and the response from that is overwhelming, to say the least. You know, and it starts great conversation. So I would say come from being authentic, because you'll get found out if you're not, and be value driven. You know, and the rest of it really will fall into place, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Give value first, and then you will be valued. Too many people are looking to get the sale first. There's too many, you know, still now you hear it, and people dress up and saying, you know, oh, DM me for more information. DM me for more information. That's code for get into my DMs, and then I can start trying to flog your stuff. Some people are there to give value, but don't go wrong. But a lot of the time, that's how it works. But yeah, give value first, and then become
People
valued.
Find the way to reach you if they.
100%. And also be intentional with your time. To start with, when it was new, like, oh, what's this new thing? But it's been around long enough now, you can see what it's there for. Why are you in a room? You know, so many people who think that proximity is power, and it is to a certain extent, but it's also not, you know, just because you're in someone's audience and you send them those DMs, oh, thanks for your information, it's really good. Like, what value are you actually getting out of that? Be intentional with your time, give value first, and then you'll become valued. And yeah, to scale up your own rooms or your own sort of collaborations, just get around great people. Get around great people, because there's a lot of value and a lot of valuable people on that platform, some unbelievable people on that platform. But get around people who line up with your overall moral compass, that align you to your North Star of where you want to go as a business.
So Ashley, where do you see yourself in 5 years with Winners Club?
Oh, great question.
How old you be?
I'm intrigued to find the answer out for this one.
That the Winners Club app is global, like a global recognized. I'm not going to give a comparison name, but a global recognized hub of just value, education, tactical and practical advice. That's what I see. And with these two.
And how about you, James?
Oh, I imagine myself 5 years' time sitting on Ashley Shipman's yacht, bobbing around in the Adriatic Sea. He's feeding me grapes. I don't know why.
It is in Albania.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Well, there we go. You can come as well then, because you've got local knowledge. So that all works out nicely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
I'm going to be in that yacht then.
There you go. Yeah, I see this being the number one community for tangible, actionable content on the planet that's accessible, genuinely accessible to everybody. Wow. And I also see from a that's sort of the community side of it. From a business side of it, the business behind the scenes that we've built, the marketing agency, I would see within 5 years that's been bought up by a bigger conglomerate, and we've exited that business.
I
want to know from your expertise.
I'm intrigued.
Expert, where do you see yourself? How this is going to scale in 5 years?
I would. Do you know what? Generally, I hope we touch millions of people. I hope we change the path, the lives, the courses of their businesses to millions of people.
I think we'll go a million. I think you need.
I think by doing that, the rest will fall into place. I generally have that faith now. Like through my however many years, if you do the right thing, most of the time, the rest sort of falls into place. Like whether that's the law of whatever.
Oh God, say it.
Gravity. I don't know.
He believes.
I don't necessarily believe in that stuff. There's some people call it woo-woo, and I'm maybe a bit too cynical for that. But I do believe generally if you do the right thing, and one thing we are all on the same path of is doing the right thing. We generally protect the community, give them stuff that will serve them, and just protect. That's our mindset now. It's like protect the community. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we come off the Clubhouse, it's like our radar is up for anything that doesn't serve the people that are there. So yes, I think whether we're still on Clubhouse, whether Clubhouse is even there or it's been gobbled up by another social media platform, I don't know. But yeah, as Ashley said, the app to be a hub for changing people's lives. And I think the rest of it will fall into place. You know, the financial side will work out. The rest of it will work out. It's just being moral compass, do the right thing, serve the community.
You have created that beautiful, amazing dependency. And as I said from the very beginning, probably you don't know how much positive impact you're creating out there. And because you are in the flow, you are focusing on creating values, and the impact that you're creating there is much more than you think. It goes above you. And now the dream has gone viral. So really impressed, and congratulations for everything you have achieved so far. It's only the beginning. We need men like you, definitely, to provide values, to provide equality, and to provide that love and care and beautiful energy in these rooms. And people, at the end of the day, this is what they want. They, as they say, people forget what you do for them, but they don't forget how you make them feel. And Winners Club makes people feel lifted, motivated, inspired, different, better people. And thank you.